California produces one half of the nation's fruit and vegetables, and over 99% of some nuts and specialty crops. The state also boasts some of the country's most beautiful, diverse, and valuable natural resources. Yet today, invasive species pose a serious risk to our state's bounty and threaten the nation's food security. In December of 2023, the Invasive Species Council of California and California Invasive Species Advisory Committee led 3 regional invasive species tours to build awareness of both the problem and California's system to exclude dangerous invasive plants and animals and to manage more advanced invasions. The first tour took place in Southern California, specifically Orange County. Although probably best known for its theme parks and other recreational venues, Orange County also has a surprising abundance of urban agriculture and is a hotspot for plant and animal biodiversity. Appropriately, in a year of record detections and quarantines for exotic fruit flies, the first stop of this tour was the Joint Forces Training Base Los Alamitos, home of the Mediterranean Fruit Fly Preventative Release Program, or PRP, a joint program of USDA and CDFA. This program maintains 100,000 active traps in California and proactively releases 7 to 10 billion sterile fruit flies annually. The fly pupae are reared and irradiated at facilities in Hawaii and Guatemala and are transported to Los Alamitos after confirmation they are sterile. The pupae are carefully distributed into incubation trays, which are stacked in mobile towers 40 to 60 trays high, equivalent to 1 million pupae per tower. On average, 35 towers are produced each day. These towers are moved to an incubation room with carefully controlled temperature and humidity. In 4 to 5 days, adults are ready to be harvested, and the towers are moved to cooling rooms that slow the fly's metabolism. Each tray is then inverted over a collection funnel that causes the flies to drop into collection trays underneath. Release boxes are then transported to the nearby airfield and loaded onto aircraft. A machine in the cargo area of the aircraft maintains the chilled state of the flies and dispenses them at a prescribed rate. After leaving the PRP facilities, the bus is headed west to the ocean and Pacific Coast Highway. The beautiful coastal waters off the Orange County coast directly support the California economy through such activities as tourism and recreation, agriculture, and fishing. Container ships, visible off the coast, would be the topic of later discussions about coastal pathways and exclusionary activities for invasive species. But most of the discussion heading south on Pacific Coast Highway focused on invasive aquatic species of plants and animals that can increase dramatically under the right conditions, displacing native species, clogging waterways, and creating hazards for navigation and recreation. A particular focus was 2 species of algae known as caulerpa. These plants have been commonly used in the aquarium trade and probably took hold after people dumped or drained aquariums in shallow bay waters. One species was eliminated from Huntington Harbor through an early detection rapid response program that took 6 years and $7 million to complete. Attempts to control a more recent invasion by another species of caulerpa is currently underway in Newport Beach's China Cove. To date, that project has cost almost $1 million, but more funds are needed to complete the job and to conduct ongoing monitoring. A brief stop at Lookout Point allowed tour participants to see from above the beautiful but fragile China Cove, as well as the adjacent Newport Harbor. The next leg of the journey traveled along Back Bay Drive, also known as the Mountains to the Sea Trail, to observe successful restoration work, as well as ongoing efforts to eliminate invasive species from the estuary wetlands. The tour continued past the restored San Joaquin Marsh, the replanted urban forest of UC Irvine, which was the epicenter for invasive shothole boar research, and other examples of invasive species, eventually reaching UC Agriculture and Natural Resources South Coast Research and Extension Center. One of 9 such centers throughout the state, South Coast provides agricultural, horticultural, and natural resource research and public education. Its location provides unique insights into the interconnections between urban, agriculture, and wildland environments. Tour participants learned about the mission of UCANR, South American palm weevil, successful biocontrol for Asian citrus psyllid, the statewide invasive shothole borer program, and saw a live demonstration of a detection dog in action featuring Birdie from Santa Barbara County. At the nearby Bee Canyon Greenery, a state-of-the-art composting facility, participants learned about green waste collection and composting protocols in Orange County, and the role that composting green waste for distribution plays in reducing the potential spread of invasive species. The final stop of the tour was the Bolsa Chica Ecological Reserve, a 1,300-acre coastal estuary that includes a 400-acre tidal basin. A great success story here was the restoration of native eelgrass, which went from 1/4 acre to 166 acres. Presentations at Bolsa Chica included wetland management and restoration, the Callirpa eradication program, the role of the Orange County Agricultural Commissioner, and shipping as a pathway for invasives, and the role of the Marine Invasive Species Program. The second invasive species tour visited Shasta County in Northern California. Cars and buses parked near the Redding Civic Auditorium, adjacent to Turtle Bay Exploration Park. Participants walked into the park and across the picturesque Sundial Bridge to meet their guide at the McConnell Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. Invasive weeds are an ongoing problem at the Arboretum, which features over 200 acres of native trees and plants. Weeds are controlled through a mix of grazing goats, periodic spraying, and physical removals by volunteers. One of the biggest invaders is Himalayan blackberry, which at one point was nearly eradicated, but has now regained a foothold and may soon overtake the entire site if not aggressively managed. As with many restoration efforts, lack of funding is a critical issue. A few miles upriver from Turtle Bay sits Shasta College, where the next stop began with a brief bus tour of the campus. Shasta College has a strong agricultural curriculum, where programs are supported through the sale of plants raised in campus greenhouses. As at the Arboretum, Himalayan blackberry is an ongoing issue at the campus, as are other invasive plants such as arundo and tree of heaven. Growers here also are always vigilant for invasive insect pests. Presentations at Shasta College included a detection dog demonstration and discussions about the role of UCANR and the County Agricultural Commissioner in managing invasive species, as well as an overview by CDFA on current fruit fly outbreaks. The next stop on the tour was Lassen Canyon Nursery, one of the world's preeminent strawberry growers. Lassen Canyon raises 70 varieties of strawberries and ships products to 50 countries. Lassen Canyon propagates strawberries from meristem tissues, which are young growing points where cells are dividing but have not yet differentiated into leaves, stems, or other parts. This process is used to eliminate viruses and other pathogens and to energize strawberry plants for increased production of runners. In the nursery, strawberry plants are kept in dividers on tabletops. The nursery started this method during the COVID-19 pandemic and has continued the process in order to maintain the healthiest fruit possible. Also, production climbed 25% after implementing this process. The tour's final stop was Whiskeytown National Recreation Area. The 42,000-acre site offers water-based recreation, hiking through rugged terrain, scenic waterfalls, and historic homesteads. It attracts about 1 million visitors annually. With a mission of protecting and preserving the area for future generations, park rangers actively manage the land to control the roughly 50 invasive species that are recurrently brought here. including the Himalayan blackberry, yellow star thistle, black locust, and black mustard. The site also provides an excellent opportunity to observe post-fire ecology in action. The 2018 Carr Fire resulted in the loss of 60% of the area's historic orchards and burned 98% of the land within the park. The Central California tour took place in Sacramento County, stopping first at the CDFA Meadowview campus, home to the department's Plant Pest Diagnostic Center, Laboratory of Analytic Chemistry, and Biological Control Program. Department staff briefed participants on its mission, responsibilities, and actions, emphasizing the importance of an integrated pest management approach that applies science-based practices to effectively control pests while minimizing impacts on people and the environment. The Biological Control Program at Meadowview seeks to minimize the impacts of invasive weeds and insects by facilitating the importation and establishment of co-evolved enemies from their native habitats. This is a complex process that often takes many years and involves research in both the invasive's native range and here in California. Biological controls are an important tool in the pest management toolkit for several reasons. They eliminate or reduce the need for pesticides. They lower potential negative impacts on human health and the environment. They can slow down pest resistance. They can seek out invasives in areas otherwise difficult to treat. And once the biocontrol species becomes established, it is a permanent solution. Much of the on-site research at Meadowview takes place in the facility's 2 small greenhouses, and given the number of projects underway, additional greenhouses are needed. It is much easier to prevent cross-contamination in small rather than large greenhouses. Current projects at Meadowview target such invasives as yellow star thistle, knapweed, puncture vine, baraga bug, tomato leaf miner, and brown marmorated stink bug, among others. Tour participants also learned about the other programs at Meadowview, including the Diagnostic Laboratory, the Entomology Laboratory, Chemical Laboratory, and the Seed Library, before reboarding buses and heading for the next destination, the Sacramento County Branch Center Complex, the shared location for the University of California Cooperative Extension and the Sacramento County Agricultural Commissioner's Office. Here, tour participants enjoyed a working lunch while learning about collaborative efforts between UC Agricultural and Natural Resources, UC Cooperative Extension, UC Integrated Pest Management, the Ag Commissioner's Office, CDFA, and other relevant parties to control and eradicate invasive species. Presentations address such pests as Japanese beetle, oriental and other fruit flies, and branched broom rape, an invasive weed targeting tomatoes. The Agricultural Commissioner's Office has a simulated post office where Colonel, a detection dog, demonstrated his keen ability to identify packages containing fruits and vegetables. Colonel frequently identifies invasive pests in packaging at real-life shipping and mailing facilities. The next stop on the tour was Ardenbar Pond, located on the Jedediah Smith Trail, where participants learned about the challenges that invasive species represent for such natural environments as the American River. The pond is impacted by several invasive plants, such as water primrose, which interferes with the fishing dock. In 2000, volunteers pulled more than 1,000 seedlings of another invasive, red Sespania, from the pond. But the seed bank is extensive and the invaders can reestablish at any time. And more recently, invasive alligator weed was detected. The stop concluded with a presentation on waterways as a pathway for invasive species. And the buses departed for the final stop of the tour, Matsuda's Nursery. Matsuda's is a large nursery with 160 acres of growing grounds and 150 full-time employees. It grows 1,600 varieties of plants and has 3,500 different pot sizes. Matsuda's carries a broad assortment of perennial, shrub, and tree species, and is continuously introducing new plants. It sells to licensed contractors and resellers, with many of its products eventually ending up at big box retailers. Matsuda's also is one of the most automated nurseries in the country. That automation has allowed for more efficiency and greater production, but hasn't led to fewer employees. The tour visited the nursery at the peak of rose processing. Matsuda's would process 30,000 roses that week. Good sanitation is a key component of Matsuda's ability to provide high-quality plants, and the employees take great care to regularly clean their tools and equipment. You might think invasive pests could be a problem for a large nursery like Matsuda's, but that generally is not the case due to their high standards in both where they buy their inventory and how they manage their facilities. Again, sanitation and cleanliness is a key component of Matsuda's operating philosophy. Matsuda's built a new greenhouse for houseplants in 2018, and it has been a great success as the houseplant industry is booming again. There is both a Florida room and a Hawaii room. When new plants come in, they are inspected to determine whether or not they need to be quarantined. Matsuda's has found very few surprises, but when vendors don't meet up to their high California standards, Matsuda's stops doing business with them. Matsuda's tries to only purchase from the cleanest growers. Thanks to all who participated in making these successful invasive species tours possible.